What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of the Mile Higher podcast, where we take shit a mile higher.
Hell yeah, we do.
And today we're shaking it up on you guys. We originally said we were going to do the simulation theory today.
Yes, but we changed our minds. And we changed our minds because so many of you were commenting that, like, as much as you love aliens and trippy topics, you guys want to see some other types of videos or some other types of topics that I talk about on my channel, which is obviously true crime. All my subscribers love the true crime stuff. So we decided to do a true crime episode this week, and then next week you can look forward to the simulation theory. So yes, we're very excited. This is our first true crime episode.
Yes, and you're the specialist on this, so yes. I don't do true crime stuff. I mean, I know somewhat, I have a pretty good idea about true crime. I really do like watching, crime shows on TV.
Well, being married to me, you'd have to see it all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's exciting because today I'm leading the podcast. Normally Josh leads the podcast, or not normally, but so far he has, because they've been topics that he's more expert on.
Well-versed in.
Yes. But we're here. We wanted to thank you guys all for the positive reviews you've been leaving on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I think we're over, like 350 reviews on iTunes already.
Oh my God, you guys, thank you.
5 stars,
seriously.
baby.
That means a lot.
Yes.
It's hard to get it going in the beginning, It's so new.
Absolutely. And just thank you to all those that have reviewed. And if you've got a minute or two, just leave a review, rating, whatever, on the platform that you guys are listening to the podcast on, because it just helps our podcast get seen and just helps bring more listeners to it. So
yes,
go do that if you have a minute or two. But thanks to all those who've already done it.
Yes, for sure. And let's see what else. Oh, what else? Josh got us a lava lamp for the podcast. Pretty cool.
Mile higher lava lamp.
Yeah, mile higher colors too.
I know. I can't wait for it to start. It's brand new, so it takes a while to heat up, but eventually
it always takes a while to heat up. Actually,
it'll start moving up and down.
These are hot as shit, man. I used to touch them as a kid because your parents. Anything my parents said not to do, I always wanted to try. Like stick your fingers in the fan or like touch flames.
You were that kid. I was cautious, and I always knew the consequences of my actions.
No, I always learned the consequences after. So yeah. Anyway, is that it for our intro here?
3-minute intro. Anything else? Yeah.
What else we got to say? Monk. We could just mention Monk real fast. I actually will, because they are now offering a really good deal, and I thought I would mention it because so many of you guys in the last podcast in the comments were saying you wanted to try it out. So they are currently offering these 3. If you're watching the podcast, they're offering a happy, a zen, and a sexy, which try this sexy. I know you've tried it before though. It tastes like Skittles to me. I love that one. It smells so bomb.
Ooh, baby, I feel sexy.
I think it's the vanilla. It's so good.
Good.
I know. So they are offering all 3 of those for $55, and it also includes a leather pouch and a beanie.
Dope.
And if you use the code KendallJan, as in January, you get another 10% off of that, which takes it to like $49 or something in free shipping.
Hells yeah.
So hell yeah. That's going to be linked below. You can also use the code KendallFeb next month if you decide to do this next month, because I think this will probably go until like Valentine's Day, I'm assuming.
Sick. I'm going to check that out.
All right, 4 minutes in, and we're ready to go ahead and get into it. And you know what? We should, because there's a lot to go over.
There's a lot to cover in this case. The JonBenét Ramsey case and the death of this poor little girl.
Yeah.
Still unsolved.
And this happened a long time ago. You and I were young, and it happened right here in Colorado, actually, in Boulder, Colorado, which is a beautiful and pretty high-end area of Colorado too.
Yeah, in a hippie area of Colorado.
Yes, it has.
It's kind of known as a hippie college town,
but it's also known as a really wealthy area.
Yeah, well, because there's a lot of big companies there. Google's there now and stuff.
Yes. Yep.
It's basically, for those that have never been to Colorado, it's northwest of Denver. Yeah. About half hour outside of Denver.
Further into the
beautiful
foothills.
Place. Used to work there actually.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place. But yeah, so a lot of wealthy families live there, and JonBenét Ramsey's family was very wealthy. Her father worked for Access Graphics.
Access Graphics.
It's an older company, I think.
Huh.
So
I wonder if it's still around.
I don't know. You could Google it. I'm sure it is. Anyway, They were really wealthy. They lived in a super nice house in Boulder too. And for those of you who've never heard about this case, I'm going to go through everything like bit by bit because Josh hasn't heard it in a while. And I thought that's a good kind of format for this podcast, as someone who like, you know, because you'll have like questions as we go, you know, it'll be more interesting that way. Because sometimes I forget, like I know so much about it now that I forget to like address things that people may not know, you know? So
right. It's
nice to have you here.
So where do we begin with JonBenét Ramsey?
Oh boy. So I've done a video on this case before, but it's been over a year now. So I'm excited to talk about it again because this happened in 1996 and this is still in headlines. Almost every time I go to the damn grocery store, I see JonBenét Ramsey killer found, JonBenét Ramsey murder solved. And no, it's not solved. No one's been found. This case is far from being solved. It's just like, oh, someone presented a new theory. So those magazines are BS. I can't tell you how many times people tweet me those magazine covers and they're like, dude, look, like, they solved it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah. So
fake news.
Pretty much. Yeah, fake news. For real. All right. So let's begin.
So where does the story begin?
We're going to start really early, actually.
Okay.
November of 91, when they first moved to Boulder. And then in 93, June of 93, Patsy Ramsey got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Interesting. So who are the parents? I'm assuming Patsy's the mom.
Yes. Sorry. John Ramsey and Patsy Ramsey
are the parents, right?
Yes. And they have a son named Burke Ramsey.
Right.
And then they have a daughter named JonBenét Ramsey. And she's actually named after the father, you know, JonBenét. His name is JonBenét Ramsey.
Interesting. So they combined his names to create JonBenét, huh?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a French name.
Yeah, they just like kind of made up their own French name out of his name.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. JonBenét. So Burke in 1994, Burke has a little bit of an anger problem, but this has always been kind of hushed by the family. So it's kind of like we get bits and pieces all the time. But in 1994, Burke hit JonBenét with a golf club on the cheek. So this was the first time we know him to be very violent with her. And I mean, 94. So this was when she was about 4 years old.
Right. So he had somewhat erratic behavior.
Yes.
As a child.
Yep.
Which you'll need to consider later on, I think, right?
Yeah. I guess this isn't super important, but it's interesting to know. In 1994, they had this historic home holiday tour, and the Ramsey's house was included among 7 other houses in this holiday tour, and there was anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 guests that walked through the house.
So it was like kind of like a neighborhood of lights kind of thing where people, or I guess they went into the houses because they decorated it. Because these guys had a huge house, right? They had a pretty big house in Boulder, like
really big house, really nice old historic house, like
basically a mansion, but not really a mansion.
Yeah. There were so many rooms. There's like a wine cellar in the basement. That's
right.
So anyway, that was 2 years before this happened. Though it's just interesting to note that many people went through the house at one point.
So JonBenét, she is big into beauty pageants, right?
Well, her mom was a beauty pageant queen. So I don't know if she ever made it as far as she wanted to, but she obviously automatically put JonBenét in it. I'm sure JonBenét wasn't like, hey, I want to be a pageant queen. I mean, I guess she could have, but she was really young when she started. I don't even think she would have like been able to ask to do it, you know? Okay, so let's skip to 1996, December of 1996. Let's just look at the month for this family. So in December 1996, on December 6th, they had the Lights of December parade. So not the Denver Parade of Lights, but in Boulder. And JonBenét was in her own Little Miss Colorado float during the parade. So it's important to note because there's a lot of people who believe JonBenét she was really pretty for a 6-year-old. And there's a lot of creepy men out there that like follow these beauty pageants. So it's just interesting to note all the public appearances she made before in the month leading to her disappearance. So Burke was in that parade too. I don't know why. On December 13th, they had a church party in their house. It was attended by more than 150 friends from church. On December 17th, they had the Colorado's Little Miss pageant. And she won the pageant, and she won a Santa bear. I don't know what that means. Okay, so then let's see here. So yeah, this Access Graphics company, on December 20th, there was a big luncheon party to celebrate $1 billion.
So
yeah.
So John Ramsey had obviously a very successful company.
Yes.
They were very rich.
And I think he was quite a bit older than her too. Like I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure. It doesn't matter though. Oh, so then she did another beauty pageant in the Southwest Plaza Mall, which you've probably been there.
Yep.
I've been there.
Huh.
They had another Christmas party on the 23rd. So this is, leading up to Christmas.
Days leading up to her death, by the way.
Yeah. Well, nice spoiler alert there. I think people know that. Like, everyone knows
Yeah, I think it's common knowledge.
But anyway, so they hosted this Christmas party, and they had approximately 30 guests, and there was a man, and he was actually a family friend, and he was a journalism professor, and his name was Bill Mcreynolds. And he actually played Santa Claus not only in 1996 for this party, but also in 1995. He was the Santa. And he had this like weird obsession with JonBenét, but we'll talk about that later. December 23rd, there was a mistaken 911 call. This is just random, but it's interesting to note. At 6:47 p.m., someone attended the party and placed a 911 call, which was answered by the police. The caller hung up without saying anything. The police called back only to get the Ramseys' answering machine.
So it was just basically mistake call.
Yeah,
like
and so they went there, and then they found out there was no emergency, and they left.
Gotcha. So the police were there on the 23rd, though.
Yes. And then on the 24th, so Christmas Eve, she was playing at her friend Megan's house, and she told Megan's mom about a secret visit from Santa.
Secret visit from Santa?
Yeah.
Where?
I don't know. But
that's weird.
Keep in mind that Christmas party was the day before. With Bill Mcreynolds as the Santa.
I'm already having some bad vibes about that.
Yeah, I know.
That's weird. Okay.
All right. So.
This is Christmas Eve too, right?
Yes. Yep. And then that night they went to the twilight service at St. John's Episcopal Church in Boulder. Did I say that right?
Yes. Episcopal.
And then at 9 p.m. that night, John Ramsey retrieved a brand new silver girl's bike that was stored in the neighbor's yard or garage, John Barnhill's garage, and put it under the Christmas tree for JonBenét.
Oh.
December 25th.
1996.
On the night of the 25th, the Ramseys attended a Christmas party. So we don't really know what they did that much during the day. I mean, there is, but like, it's not of importance.
Right, because everything happens that night, right? Christmas evening is when things start happening.
Yes. So they attended this family dinner at the home of their close friends, Fleet and Priscilla White. And they're really important in this story. So 5 or 6 p.m., they had this white Christmas party. And the Ramseys left for the party around, I guess like 5 or 6. Nothing out of the ordinary nothing out of the ordinary occurred at this party. And the Ramsey family appeared to be happy. On the drive home from the party, JonBenét and her brother Burke fell asleep in the car.
So normal shit. This is just a normal family
Christmas
get together, heading home. Kids are tired, go to bed.
Yep.
Enjoyed the day. Nothing crazy happening.
Yep. They only made one stop on the way home to drop gifts off at Stuart and Roxy Walker's and then Glenn and Susan Stein's house on the way home.
So what time do they get home? We're not really sure.
We're not completely sure. That's kind of where we're missing it. They eventually went home. As far as we know, John put JonBenét to bed, carried her right in from the car. She was like asleep and he just brought her right upstairs. Burke was 9 years old at the time. She was 6 years old at the time. So she was actually last seen alive in her room at 10 p.m., according to them, in her bed. Let's see. Okay, so then Patsy, she doesn't know exactly when she went to bed. She says between 10 and 10:30, which you can drill someone for not knowing something like that. But then at the end of the day, it's kind of like, do you know exactly when you go to bed? I have no fucking idea.
No, absolutely not. I couldn't even like give you a time record of what I did today.
Could be 11, 10, 12.
I'd have to guesstimate, I think. So
yeah. So she said that she went to bed probably around 10 or 10:30. See. So it's important to note that JonBenét Ramsey had a bedwetting problem. She had this issue for quite a while. Sorry. Trying to get my mic right here. So it was pretty much a nightly occurrence that she had wet the bed, which is actually really common at that age. And it's actually a sign, I was reading it today, it's actually a sign of constipation. Like, it's like not a good thing when your kid's wetting the bed all the time, because so much of it is an accident. But if it's happening all the time, it's like, it goes undiagnosed a lot. I thought that was interesting. But anyway, Patsy really was struggling with JonBenét's bedwetting, was like super frustrated. So a lot of people think that maybe she wet the bed that night and Patsy got mad at her.
Gotcha.
So John said that he went to bed around 10 or 10:30, like 15 minutes later than her.
And this is according to Patsy, right?
Yeah. According to the family. This is just like police report stuff. And so this may not be true. That's the thing. It's like, this is what they told us happened that night. I'm just going from like the police. So the family had a vacation planned for the next day. They had a flight to Michigan. And before 6 a.m., the police have it marked down that a neighbor saw lights on at the Ramsey's house at midnight. Scott Gibbons. He looked out of his kitchen window.
Early the 26th, it sounds like. Yeah,
someone was up. The upper kitchen lights were on and dimmed low. At 1 a.m., neighbors Adam Vermeer. Yeah, Adam and Luke went to bed after watching movies late in the evening, and they did not notice or hear anything unusual. 2 a.m., neighbors heard a scream. This was neighbor Melody Stanton. She thinks the scream was around between midnight and 2 a.m. I never understand. If you hear like a scream in the middle of the night, like, why don't you call the police? You wouldn't want to.
Well, no, because like just because somebody screams doesn't mean there's a crime occurring.
Yeah, but
like,
it
why
could
would you
be.
But why would you would call the police on somebody for screaming? That's ridiculous.
I would call and say it, or I would call over to the house. If I heard a high-pitched scream at like midnight or 2 a.m. on Christmas, I probably
somebody could have just gotten scared though.
I know that they could have, but like, this is how the bystander effect happens, is people are too afraid to say anything because they think they could be wrong. Imagine what would have happened if they had called the police.
But do you want the cops knocking at your door at 2 a.m. if you scream? No, I don't. Do you?
Yeah, if I'm being murdered.
Right, but how does anybody know you're being murdered?
You don't know. That's why you take a guess. Okay. And then they can say, no one's dying here. We were just screaming for no reason. And they can leave. It's important, dude. If someone had called, if that neighbor had called, they would know what happened to JonBenét today. If police went to their house at this time.
You think they would have caught the killer?
Yes, they would have found out what happened. That's for sure. Okay, so 5:30 a.m., John Ramsey awoke. The family had planned to rise early the following morning because they were going to fly to Michigan. So it was like 5:30 and they were both getting ready. So Mr. Ramsey was showering, and Miss Ramsey, what's weird is she put on the same outfit she was wearing the night before. Also, can't say I haven't done that though. I actually do that a lot. And then she reapplied her makeup. And a few minutes later, she went to the second floor to rinse out JonBenét's jumpsuit because she had wet the bed. And then 5:45, there was a ransom note discovered. So this is where this case gets really interesting. Miss Ramsey went downstairs towards the second floor, and they had this spiral staircase because they had this like boulder house that was like really compartmentalized, and it was old. So there was just tons of little staircases and stuff. And at the end of the staircase, there was a ransom note, handwritten note on 3 sheets of paper that indicated that JonBenét had been kidnapped. And it's also interesting to note that after investigation, they found that the note was written on pen and paper from inside the house.
Right. That's probably the most bizarre thing about this is that whoever wrote this ransom note sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but whoever wrote this ransom note.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. That's why it's funny a little bit.
Like, if it was not somebody that lived in the house, like, who would do that? Like, who would, if somebody's committing a murder, who's going to take the time to find a notepad and paper from inside the place where you're killing somebody to write a note, and a long note too? Like, this note is long, which here's what the note said. It said, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her, you must follow these instructions on the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. Fancy. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied to her remains for a proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police or FBI, will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned. We are familiar with the law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You're only a fat cat around, so...
You're not the only fat cat.
Oh, you're not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. Victory. And then signed SBTC initials.
Now, a couple of things to note. First of all, that amount, $118,000, is really specific, and it's the exact amount that he had received for his holiday bonus that year.
Yeah, and that right there is very bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, how do you get that information unless you either know John personally or you work with John? If you're some random stranger, that information is pretty much like he's like the CEO too. You don't just call up a company and be like, hey, what's the CEO's getting for his Christmas bonus this year? That's bizarre.
I don't know if he was the CEO. Was he the CEO?
I'm pretty sure he was like...
He was high up in the company.
I'm pretty sure he was like the CEO, wasn't he? Or like...
I don't know.
Close to it.
But that's so weird. $118,000. That's a huge fucking bonus. That's a bonus? God.
And that's in 1996, by the way. I bet you that's tenfold now.
Oh my God. Okay. Anyway. Well, the other weird thing about it is the fact that, I mean, the over exaggeration and like the way that the letter is put, it sounds like a movie.
It's theatrical. It's very
theatrical.
dramatic.
That's the
and
word
theatrical.
I was looking for. Yes.
It almost sounds like a crazy script for a movie or something.
Yeah.
Especially, and it's so textbook Ransom Note. It's like as if somebody Googled Ransom Note, how to write a ransom note. Yeah. Because it's like, you will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be but why does it need to be in? Why is 18 in $20 bills? That makes no sense. I mean, it clearly looks like somebody looks like somebody that looked up how to write a ransom note who's never written one before.
Yeah, and whoever wrote this in their house. So that's weird too. Like, why the fuck would you go in and like waste so much time? Like, oh, let me just sit down and write a long ransom note. This is long, dude.
I guess it's really possible that they just by coincidence got the same pen and paper or something that they already had.
The same.
Or it's actually their property, the Ramsey's property that was used.
It is.
Oh, okay.
It was their pad.
So they were like, oh yeah, that's our pen and paper.
Yeah, they had to give them the pad. They had to give the police the pad, and then the police determined that the paper came from their pad in their kitchen. So it was definitely written in the house. So what kind of intruder would sit down at the kitchen table and write this extremely long note? You'd think there's so much detail to this. There's so much specifics. You'd think if you were writing a ransom note, you would want this to be as little information as possible. Like all the threats, she dies.
Yeah.
It's so over dramatic. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You're not the only fat cat around. Like it just seems so ridiculous.
This doesn't seem really like a foreign faction wrote this.
A foreign faction?
Because like think about it. Anytime you would see a foreign, like when I think of foreign faction writing a ransom note, I would expect to see grammatical errors, spelling errors. I mean, obviously there are some spelling errors. It's possible that it couldn't, they may have perfect English, but it's very bizarre. And another thing real quick that stuck out to me was the fact that they said that they will behead her.
Yeah.
Like that is some extreme shit. Like even for, a kidnapping, a kidnapping murder, like how often do you hear of like beheadings happen, especially in the US?
Yeah.
And it's not like they would have been able to kidnap her and get her out of the country.
And you know what? For all of that violence and for how like well thought out this seems, I feel like 118,000's like not enough.
Yeah, that's like cheap.
It seems awfully convenient. Like we'll go get our, it's just weird. It seems
to me
like it'd be way more people being involved, I feel like, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, to me it's pretty clear in my mind that whoever did it knew John Ramsey personally. I really believe that. I think it may have been a personal vendetta.
Or it was them.
So that's the ransom note. That's a bizarre ransom note.
So moving forward.
5:45 a.m.
So they went to her room. She immediately screamed, went to JonBenét's room, and the room was empty, obviously. So she's gone. They checked on Burke at 5:52 a.m. He was fine. He was sleeping. Then Mr. Ramsey went downstairs to read the ransom note, and Miss Ramsey called the police to inform that her child had been kidnapped. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the 911 call for you guys. Ooh, how do I open a link on a Google Doc?
Just
All right, here we go.
All right.
Sorry. Oh, geez. Sorry, guys.
Wow.
We're having a party over here.
What is that, rave music?
So amateur.
Surprise.
Okay, here we go.
God. Huh. Wow.
So that last part, if you guys heard it, there's like kind of this weird, it kind of sounds like this high pitched here. Listen one more time.
What is that?
It's been long debated what that is. And in fact, last year or like 2016, it was like on a TV show and they analyzed the call and they think that it might have been them talking to Burke in the background. There's a lot of people, which they've never proved it. I have no idea what that, it didn't sound like anything to me.
Sounds like moving around or something real quick or something.
This recording we're watching says it was Patsy saying, "Help me, Jesus." But there's a lot of people that think it was saying, like, talking to Burke saying, "What did you do?" But that doesn't make sense. Why would they be? It's just,
well, why
I
would
don't know
she
if there's
say that
any
if she was
significance
on
to
the
that.
phone with 911?
Exactly.
If that was the case.
But what do you think of the call? Like, what are your first impressions of how she was acting?
I think she's acting pretty natural. I think it definitely sounded like she was distressed and panicked and clearly upset about not being able to find JonBenét. So
yeah,
nothing
alarming.
It doesn't seem like she was acting or anything fishy like that. It seemed pretty natural, I would say. So
yeah.
That was, what time was that at? That was at
5:52.
52. So that's when they phoned the police.
Yeah.
So the officers get there.
Yes, and it's important to note that on this particular night, the Ramsey family did not turn on their home alarm system, and the home was unlocked. At least 7 windows and a door were found unlocked on the morning of December 26th. So after 5:52 a.m., she immediately calls her family friends, Fleet and Priscilla White. They were the ones they were with the night before, and they came over like right away. Now that's kind of weird that they came over.
Yeah, why the friends
it's a crime
right
scene.
Away?
But they didn't know it was a crime scene because they didn't. Everyone at first thought she was gone.
That's true. So yeah, that'd be pretty natural then to call your friends and neighbors.
Yeah, I guess you would, because I think I would start.
If you
calling
truly
as many
didn't
people
know
as I
that,
could.
if you truly didn't know where somebody was, and
maybe you were calling to check to see if maybe we left her there and forgot.
Yeah,
but I guess
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. So she called immediately after the 911 call too. That's what's weird. So then 5:55 a.m., Officer French is dispatched to their house, which is 755 15th Street in Boulder, regarding the ransom and the kidnapping. So, let's see. Sorry, there's a lot of information.
So it looks like
here.
around 5:59 a.m., Officer French was in the house, and it looks like he read the ransom note and then did a quick search of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're thinking that, according to the ransom note, the kidnappers would be calling between 8 and 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And so obviously they were just waiting for that time, because at this point at this time, they didn't know where she was, and they figured she was kidnapped, because that's what the ransom note said.
Right. So they were waiting for a call between 9 and 10 a.m. That never came. But going back even earlier than that, it's also important to note that there was apparently 2 inches of snow the night of that murder, and there were no footprints or tracks of any kind in the snow when the Boulder police arrived. They may not have seen it. We know how fast snow melts in Colorado, so it's possible that they were there.
Well, not just melting, but like, if somebody had been outside the house earlier that night, a couple hours of snow easily could have covered up those tracks.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
or they could have been
possible.
there before it even started snowing. Okay, so they immediately searched the house looking for a point of entry. So they're obviously looking for someone. Because at this point they think someone came in and did this.
Or
so they're
came in and kidnapped her, right?
Right. Came in and kidnapped her. So they're looking for a point of entry, and they could not find any point of entry.
No forced entry anywhere. No signs of forced entry.
Not in the beginning. The only thing was there was a broken window in the basement, but John Ramsey said that he broke that window like months earlier and forgot about it because they never go down there, and their house is fucking huge.
Which is totally possible. I can see that. So that I mean, you could definitely buy that story.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So the Boulder police said that the Boulder police detective, specifically Linda Arndt, she's a really big part of this story because people are really disappointed with her policing skills. The whole Boulder Police Department in this did not handle this the best way. They decided to ask John to search the home for anything unusual to keep him occupied.
No, does not happen. That's horrible police work.
Seriously.
Never, ever would you have the victim's parents search instead of you. You say, sit your ass down on the couch.
They already searched it, though. They asked him to do another search after they had already performed a search with one of the family friends.
No way. That doesn't happen.
When they did this, when they first were looking through the house was messy, but there was no sign of a struggle.
No blood spatter.
The police did not look in the wine cellar. He didn't open that room in the basement because it was locked from the outside. So the latch was on the wrong side of the door leading out of the house. So why, like, how would someone have gotten in? Does that make sense? Well, that was his thought process for why he didn't check that area.
So a family friend also went downstairs.
Yep, he did his own search by himself.
So this basement had to have been pretty big then.
It is. Their whole house was really big.
So
Mr. White testifies, this is Fleet White, that when he began his search, the lights were already on in the basement and the door to the hallway leading to the cellar room was opened. So, like, there's been different testimony. That's why this case is so confusing. No one understands.
The timeline of events is fucked up. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
No, there's a lot of confusion.
What the hell? Then that would suggest that John Ramsey went downstairs and previously checked the wine cellar.
I don't even know. And then he further testified that a window in the basement playroom was broken, which was what John said. There was also a suitcase under the broken window. So people think maybe it was a way for someone to step up and get out of the window, along with a broken shard of glass. But he cannot remember if the window was open or closed at the time. He also opened the door to the wine cellar room, but he could not see anything inside because it was dark and he couldn't find the light switch. So he went back upstairs and no one ever searched in this wine cellar, like all morning.
And this wine's, I keep picturing like a little like wine cellar fridge, but this is a big ass wine cellar, like a full wine cellar.
I think there was a closet in the wine cellar where she was. So so at this point, Burke wakes up. He's dressed at 7 a.m. And at 7:13 a.m., they took him to the White's house to just get him out of the way. 7:30 a.m., they went and got the $118,000 demanded in the ransom note.
John Ramsey did. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So John Ramsey went and collected the money for the ransom that the ransom note demanded.
Yep. And at this point, they're like coaching them on what to say.
Right, because they're expecting this call from these kidnappers.
Right.
That supposedly wrote this ransom
But no
note.
one ever calls.
God.
So at this point, this is what's crazy. The Boulder police allowed the advocates, which I'm assuming were just like people helping, like friends that were there for moral support. They began cleaning up their kitchen because it was still messy. Like they had probably planned to clean before they left. It was Christmas.
This is a
before.
freaking crime scene, though. And
yeah,
they're just cleaning
exactly.
up. This seems like
well, they didn't know it was a crime scene at that point. But I think either way, it's a crime scene because if they think someone entered the house, it is. They have no excuse for letting them clean that fucking kitchen.
Okay.
Excuse my language. I'm very passionate about JonBenét Ramsey.
Okay, this makes zero sense.
No.
From a criminal investigation standpoint, if somebody disappears unexpectedly out of the house, I would expect, and they suspect that foul play could be involved based upon this ransom note, which would suggest that JonBenét was kidnapped out of her freaking bed. That's what this is implying.
Yeah.
So that means the whole house is a crime scene.
Right.
So the police should have came, removed everybody out of the house, taped it off, and then waited for the forensic unit to come in here to do a full sweep of the house because this is a crime scene.
Well, they should have sealed off the whole house. It took them till 10:30 a.m. just to seal JonBenét's bedroom.
That's ridiculous.
And they only sealed the bedroom. They didn't. So it was just like free for all in the rest of the house. People were cleaning. There's all these friends there.
Such bad police work. Oh my God.
Yeah. Really bad police work.
That's ridiculous.
They did little to protect the integrity of the crime scene. Believing the crime was a kidnapping, the cops cordoned off JonBenét's bedroom with yellow and black crime scene tape to preserve whatever evidence her abductor may have left behind. I don't understand why they didn't do the whole house, because if they believed that the abductor was in the bedroom, then they would have had to be in the rest of the house as well. I mean, it makes no sense.
Or possibly wrote a ransom note in their house.
Yeah. They just didn't see the rest of the house as a crime scene.
That's so bad.
So the whole kitchen was cleaned. And it's interesting because now people really think that the crime actually happened in the kitchen. This is going to be a long podcast, but hey, you guys keep saying you want long podcasts.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Okay. So at 10:40 a.m., this is interesting. John Ramsey went out to go pick up their mail. Now, this is strange because they did not have, the mail was delivered right to the house through a mail slot by the front door in this area. So him going to get the mail makes no sense. There is no place for him to have gotten the mail from.
Where would he be going to get the mail from?
They don't know.
Huh. That's weird.
So then, not until 1 p.m., John and Fleet decide to do one search of the basement. Actually, Detective Arndt, which this is, she's the blonde one. I don't know if you've ever seen her. If any of you guys have probably seen stuff about this case, she's really prominent in this. Detective Arndt, because people think she was just like a mess during this. Like, did not do anything right with this. So she told them to check the whole house one more time, top to bottom. I don't understand why she wasn't with them, but she sent John and Fleet to go search the house. So anyway, they went to the basement and they first went into the train room. So this is how big the house is. There's a fucking train room just for their toy train. Examined the broken window. John said he broke it a few months ago. They searched for glass on the floor, and then they went up to a broom closet and then to the wine cellar. Again,
for possibly the third time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, guess who's in the wine cellar?
Yep. Mr. Ramsey then noticed a heavy fireplace grate propped in front of the closet in the wine cellar. Finding that unusual, they moved it. They moved that from the closet. They searched the closet. She was not in that particular closet. Then they went to the wine cellar room. Sorry, that was another closet. So then they find JonBenét Ramsey in this wine cellar, in the closet in the wine cellar.
Around 1:04 p.m.
1:04 p.m. She had been strangled, sexually assaulted, and suffered blunt force trauma to her head. Mr. Ramsey went into the room first, turned on the light, and discovered JonBenét's body. He exclaimed, "Oh my God, my baby." This is all just what the police have written down. So this is also crazy because the police weren't with him at the time. They didn't tell him not to touch her. So he rips the duct tape off of her face.
That just is, that's the reason this case is unsolved still.
Yeah.
Because this detective clearly did not know how to investigate a homicide.
No. Well, the Boulder police were just not prepared for this.
Right, because in Boulder, it's a happy place and murders don't happen there that often.
Actually, yeah, that's true. So JonBenét had black duct tape covering her mouth and a cord around her neck that was attached to a wooden garrote, which is a twisting tool that that's how you can suffocate people. It's like where there's a stick and a piece of like...
Right, you twist it to tighten it.
Yeah, you twist it to tighten it. It's actually, I think, a sexual thing.
Like it's for asphyxiation, right?
Yeah.
To cut off airflow.
Mm-hmm. Her hands were bound over her head. And she was covered in a light-colored blanket.
What?
He ripped the duct tape off her mouth and attempted to untie her hands. And within a few minutes of going into the basement, Fleet came running up the stairs, grabbed the telephone in the back office located on the first floor, and yelled for someone to call an ambulance. So then they carried her upstairs. John.
God. Contamination of evidence right there. Big time.
Yeah, and I think she was actually brought up by Arndt. Picked up the body again, moved it into the living room. No. I'm sorry.
He
brought her
it upstairs,
and
right?
then the detective
then
moved the body again.
Oh my
moved
Lord.
it into the living room near the Christmas tree where Patsy found her, knelt beside her screaming, "My little angel," over and over again. Friends carried Patsy, too stunned to walk, over to the body. Or John said the little angel thing. It doesn't matter. Sorry, it's hard to do this live. But the police describe her throwing herself over JonBenét in hysterics. So
they're clearly upset at finding.
I mean, hysterical. Like, she wanted to be sedated. She asked several times to be sedated, the mom. And that whole night they were reported like they didn't sleep. They were just walking around aimlessly. And so Detective Arndt requests his backup, and they seal off the house.
like
it was not
10 hours
until
later.
13:50 p.m., which is what time is that?
That's
Is that 6:50? I don't even know. I'm so bad with military time.
That's 1:50 p.m.
Okay, so 1:45, they left the house, the Ramseys, to stay with their friend the Fernies, and the house was secured.
And then at 2:30, the brother Burke was interviewed by the Boulder Police Department.
Yep.
And apparently, Detective Patterson talked to Burt Ramsey at the White's house.
Mm-hmm.
And Burke apparently had no idea what was going on and reportedly had slept through the events of the previous night. So it sounds like Burke has no information as far as what happened, because he was fast asleep in his bed and didn't hear anything, and surprisingly never woke up from that scream that was supposedly heard.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yep. He was just in his room. That's all he knows. So JonBenét was found with obviously a garrote, and there was the tool, the wooden part to spin the garrote, was actually a paintbrush from her paint tray from the boiler room in the basement. They determined that it belonged to her.
Patsy's.
Yeah.
Patsy Ramsey's paint brush.
So do you want to read the body exam?
Yeah.
This is just the first, this isn't the full autopsy. This is just someone coming in and looking at the body in the house.
Yeah, this is the coroner examining JonBenét Ramsey's body.
I don't think it is the coroner, is it?
Yeah, it's a coroner that looks at the body.
But they came up with different, they had different
Meyer? Who's
outcomes.
Meyer? Do you know who Meyer is?
I think it was just one of the
Boulder Police
crime
Department or
scene
something.
detectives. Yeah.
Like a forensic person?
Yeah. I don't know if it was like the full coroner though.
So,
yeah.
All right.
No, wait. Yes, it was.
Was it the coroner?
John Meyer. Yep. So yeah, he just,
because the
guess,
coroner
changed
would
his
make
mind
these
it was different.
detailed remarks about it.
Yeah.
So poor JonBenét got
Horrible.
messed up. Upon initially viewing the body in the living room of the house, the decedent was laying on her back on the floor, covered by a blanket and a Colorado Avalanche sweatshirt. On removing these two items from the top of the body, the decedent, I'm saying that right?
Decadent.
I think it's decadent. It's not descendant.
I don't know.
It's decadent. Was found to be lying on her back with her arms extended up over her head. The head was turned to the right, and a brief examination of the body disclosed a ligature around the neck and a ligature around the right wrist. Also noted was a small area of abrasion or contusion below the right ear, which is where she reportedly was hit. Below the right ear on the lateral aspect of the right cheek, and a prominent dried abrasion was present on the lower left neck. So it appeared that she had suffered, maybe even tortured, and strangled to death with this garrote.
Well, they believe, at first they thought that the blunt force trauma to the back of her head is what killed her. Later on, they figured out that she was alive when she was strangled. So we believe that the strangulation is what fully killed her.
That's what the county coroner said. That's what the results of the autopsy found was that she died due to strangulation, asphyxiation. But it sounds like others believe that she may have been bludgeoned to death.
My sister just texted me and said, "Are you reopening the Ramsey case?" Makes me feel like a damn detective. Yeah, I'm reopening this shit. Okay. Yeah, so the garrote was from the paintbrush, from the hobby kit. Now this is kind of upsetting, and I didn't even mention a lot of this stuff in my YouTube video. I kind of keep it a little more, not G-rated, but not
less graphic.
Yeah. But the podcast is a whole different world.
So we're going to get graphic here.
Yeah, but it's upsetting, just to warn you. There were wood fragments from the paintbrush that was used to create the garrote found inside of her. So they believe that she was sexually assaulted with the paintbrush.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Her body also showed signs of sexual damage that caused bleeding. Fiber evidence suggests that the cord and the duct tape were at one time in the second floor area near JonBenét's room. Fibers consistent with the cord to make the garrote were found in JonBenét's bed. That's just, that's fiber evidence, so it's very hard to say for sure, but that's,
In her bed, though. That's odd.
Yeah.
So they had it. So whoever had this garrote was
possibly
in her room, possibly.
There was consistent fibers, but other
the duct tape was the duct tape that covered JonBenet's mouth
was never sourced to their house.
To the Ramsey
so
house.
That was not belonging to them as far as we know.
That was a foreign object to the home.
Well, we're not positive unless they got rid of it, but other items not belonging to the second floor were found that day. There was a rope inside of a paper sack in the guest bedroom on the second floor. Small pieces of the brown paper sack were found in JonBenet's bed, and the body bag that was used to transport her body from the scene. John and Patsy said they have no knowledge of the rope and said that they did not own it. There was also a baseball bat found in the Ramseys' house.
Really? They found a baseball bat that they both claimed that wasn't supposed to be there?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been theirs, though. This is all coming from their lawyer, actually. So, not all of it, the information I'm reading right now. There were also brown cotton fibers found on JonBenet's body, on the garrote handle, the duct tape, and the wrist ligatures. Were not sourced and didn't match anything in the Ramseys' home.
A shoe print was found in the basement in the mold on the floor.
Yeah.
And they were shoe prints containing a high-tech branding marking.
Yeah.
And neither John, Patsy, or Burke owned any shoes with that brand at the time of the murder.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, another interesting thing to know is that she had pineapple in her stomach, undigested pineapple, which makes a lot of people believe that she had pineapple when they got home from whatever Christmas party they were at the White's house.
So she ate pineapple before she went to bed?
That's what people believe, that the story that they told was not true, that maybe they weren't asleep when they got back to the house, that they were both awake. So a lot of people, there's a huge theory actually that JonBenét and Burke both loved pineapple with milk. It was like kind of their thing. So they think they got home, it was Christmas night or whatever, and they wanted pineapple and milk, and Burke was having some, and this is totally just a theory, but a lot of people think she reached over to grab some pineapple from Burke, and he got mad and picked up, there's this really heavy flashlight in their kitchen, and smacked her on the head with it.
So that would explain.
Rendering her at least unconscious.
Right.
Could have been possible they thought she was dead and she wasn't, or they finished the job, the parents, to clean up for him. Right. That's just a theory. So that's the pineapple thing. Or it's possible that an intruder came in and gave her some pineapple. We have no idea because the kitchen was fucking cleaned. So we have no idea who
was even in the kitchen at any point that night.
Yes, but they do believe that at least Patsy and Burke were in the kitchen that night. Yeah, it's very confusing, this case, obviously. This is like one of the most confusing cases of all times.
But it sounds like there was DNA of an unidentified male that was found under JonBenet's fingernails.
Yeah.
And it wasn't visually apparent that JonBenét had suffered a massive blow to her head that fractured the right side of her skull. And the injury that has been described as the equivalent to an injury resulting from a fall from the third floor of a building.
Yeah.
Damn. So she got hit
really hard.
Really hard.
Well, have you seen those big metal flashlights? Like you could definitely
those mag
knock
lights
someone
are
out with that.
Super heavy.
Yeah. And also they found DNA in her long johns that she was wearing, like her pajamas, and her underwear that belonged to an unidentified male. This is not sperm. Don't get it twisted. A lot of people get confused about that, but just male DNA, hands,
And it sounds like a pathologist actually who performed an autopsy discovered that JonBenét was indeed sexually assaulted through penetration with the broken wooden handle of a paintbrush. That's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Sick bastard.
Yeah, whoever did that.
God.
Well, that's like when you start to think it was the parents or the family, like it's really
it's like,
hard
why would
to
they
believe
do that. Yeah.
That's
especially
so crazy.
That. Why would they go to that length to?
But this whole case just makes no sense at the same time. It's so hard. So yeah, they found no footsteps in the snow. So at first, the Ramseys have gotten so much shit for seeming like uncooperative. And they were pretty uncooperative. They sometimes were willing to cooperate, and they gave a lot of stuff over, but they felt from the beginning, I think law enforcement started having bias against them right away because they're like, this happened, we found her dead in your house. Chances are,
how did you not know she was dead in your wine cellar? So,
and who would kidnap someone and then end up killing them anyway and leaving them in the basement? It doesn't make a lot of sense. It seemed like a cover-up. What I don't get though is if they were covering it up, wouldn't they have like taken her body out of the house so that she was never found, and then they could just go with that she's been kidnapped and is missing?
Right.
This whole thing is so confusing. So they gave the Boulder police historical handwriting samples, so stuff they've already written, as well as supervised written samples. They were able to determine that the handwriting was not of John or Burke, but they were not able to rule out Patsy.
Right, it was inconclusive that the handwriting of the ransom note matched up with Patsy Ramsey's handwriting.
Like little things that she did, like the way that she wrote her cues or like stuff like that. Little unique things about her handwriting were showing up. And it was long, like it'd be hard to fake it. And what was interesting is the handwriting changes throughout the note. If you look at it, it's kind of nicer towards the beginning and it gets sloppy at the end.
Like as if somebody was like, oh shit, I gotta hurry up and finish this.
Or they were trying hard to make it look like someone else's or not their handwriting.
Right. And the more I think about it, I completely understand why they would be uncooperative with the police, because the police has fucked this up so far.
Yeah.
They completely fucked this investigation. And so instead of telling the police more information or being cooperative, they're like, fuck you guys. And they went to the press to, inform the public about what had happened. And
but they definitely did turn down a lot of interviews, though. They were known for like not wanting to do appearances, but they did quite a bit.
Yeah.
And another weird thing is they both hired separate lawyers
for each of them.
Yeah. I mean, they were super rich.
But I mean, they could have just been maximum protection,
Yes. But they were actually both officially acquitted of the crime in a 13-month jury deliberation. They were acquitted once again in 2008 after a touch DNA test eliminated them from the suspect list entirely.
Which they all had their DNA. They gave their DNA samples to the police.
Yeah, so it's definitely not their DNA that was
found
there.
on JonBenét.
Yeah, but there's a lot of evidence to show that DNA could have been from the manufacturer, that someone making those clothes.
That's what I said too. Is that
it's
quite possible that by accident somebody's DNA that had maybe handled the product at some time got on the because it could be skin flakes, it could be because they could be folding, they could be packaging.
Could have transferred from
because back then, I mean, they probably didn't have all the automated production of that stuff, so it probably was physically handled, so that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So these are the possibilities of who done it. Who
killed
JonBenét.
A lot of people think there's several different theories, but the pineapple one that I explained earlier, it was done by Burke, and the parents covered it up. The parents acted together, figured this, like, one of our children is dead. We might as well try to save the other one from being, I don't know, can you get arrested?
Instead of losing. Oh, yeah. Well,
I don't know what would have even happened to him.
Honestly, I just don't know if that makes sense, because for such a powerful, family that has the money that they do, they shouldn't be worried about that, because they would have the ability to fight that in court. And even if Burke had accidentally killed JonBenét, I'm sure Burke probably wouldn't have been punished that severely.
No, well, it would have been considered an accident. It wasn't like aggravated assault, or I guess, or maybe, I don't know.
I mean, he could have got like, I mean, they would have had to try him as a kid though, and that's the thing.
I don't see anything that bad have happened to him. I mean, it just doesn't seem like you would go ahead and like stage the whole thing in order to. It doesn't, I don't know, but they could have. Like, that's what most people think, and I just have a weird feeling about Patsy. I don't know why. She just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, here, check out this interview. Listen to the parents talk about their possible involvement.
Just because they were getting loads of heat.
Everyone
thought they did it
because it's in your house. The ransom note was weird as hell, and it was in your house, and who else would have known that bonus amount?
That's the thing, is somebody had to have known that information, and that's not public knowledge of how much a person is getting a bonus for.
No.
I mean, unless you did some serious digging, but there's just no way.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, another option is that possibly the parents were the killers based upon the bedwetting incident, and maybe John, because it sounds like he may have had some anger issues with the children.
Yeah, a lot of people
that
think he was
may
abusive.
have raged and, you know, killed JonBenét either purposely or by accident, or
Patsy. Like, honestly, more people think it was Patsy that accidentally got really mad about the bedwetting thing, flipped out, and hit her,
and then John had covered for her. Yeah, to protect her.
Right. Or their son did it, and they both, staged this whole thing.
But
it's just
were
such a weird plan. Like, hey, imagine if this was us for some fucking reason. Like, one of our cats is dead, and we want to hide it. What would we write a ransom letter and then stash them in the basement? It just says, and then call the police to our house and have people search and go.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard.
How quickly everything went down.
Yeah.
Just, it seems very difficult. Because I mean, even if they had killed her at 2 a.m., by 7 a.m., I mean, if they had really done it, you would have thought and wanted to fake a kidnapping, they would have drove her to some place and put her far away from the home as they could, so that it would fit the narrative of a ransom kidnapping. But then there'd
be evidence that they left the house. The neighbor could have seen them leaving,
right? Or hide her somewhere than just I don't know. It's bizarre,
so weird,
so bizarre.
I mean, the ransom note alone is just such a strange component to this, because why would you have written that at all? If you were gonna just have them find her in your basement, why even add the ransom note kidnapping part of this?
Yeah, or take
hey, we found our daughter dead in our basement. That's a lot more believable than this weird ransom. I don't know. So here, listen to the parents talking about it. Just a little bit of this to hear kind of their take on it.
Tell you, those were the most hurtful. To those of you who may want to ask, let me address very directly, I did not kill my daughter, JonBenét. There have also been innuendos that she has been or was sexually molested. I can tell you those were the most hurtful innuendos to us as a family. They are totally false. JonBenét and I had a very close relationship. I will miss her dearly for the rest of my life.
I'm Patsy Ramsey, JonBenét's mother, and I'm grateful that we are finally able to meet together face to face. I'm appalled that anyone would think that John or I would be involved in such a hideous, heinous crime. But let me assure you that I did not kill JonBenét. I did not have anything to do with it. I love that child with my whole of my heart and soul.
Mr. and Mrs. Ramsey, what do you want to say to the killer of your daughter?
We'll find you. We will find you. I have that as a sole mission for the rest of my life.
Mrs. Ramsey?
Likewise, the police and investigators have assured us that this is a case which can be solved. You may be eluding the authorities for a time, but God knows who you are, and we will find you.
Huh.
Okay.
So, I mean, that seems pretty authentic to me.
Yeah. It's hard to say.
And I mean, yeah, this crime was heinous as fuck. I mean, I can't imagine as a parent, no matter how mad or raging you are about your child, that it would bring you to the point where you would kill her and then sexually assault her.
But the sad reality is
it
that happens to a lot of kids, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So they have to consider it.
And this is interesting. Bedwetting and toileting accidents are one of the leading causes of child abuse. There are many reports on abuse cases relating to bedwetting, such as children beaten, starved, or forced to sit in a chair all day, sleep in a bathtub, or sit on an electric burner.
Jesus.
Yeah, so parents do fucked up things to kids.
God damn.
And in a moment of rage on Christmas after like being exhausted, it could have happened. So I certainly don't think you can rule them out, but there's plenty of reasons to think it could have been something else.
So while we're still talking about the family, another option is that the older brother Burke accidentally killed JonBenét with the flashlight.
Well, yeah, we talked about that, but I mean, it's it's possible because he hit her with a golf club before. So he's been known to act out in rage like that. And he had been known to have some behavioral problems. A lot of people think he was emotionally disturbed, and they've really tried to hide a lot of things about him. And, you know, he's done all these interviews recently. He finally started talking like a year ago, and he acts fucking weird.
He's a sketchy dude.
Smiling and grinning.
Odd.
And
yeah, he was on the
super
Dr.
weird.
Phil show, actually.
Let me try to pull up a little clip of him. Keep going.
We watched it, and he's just bizarre. I mean, he could just be a bizarre person, but his demeanor and the way he sounds is so odd.
Yeah.
So odd.
I really fully grasped, like, after this, I I think one of our...
Okay.
I remember the casket was small and her eyes
Why
were
the
closed.
fuck is he
I think one of her
smiling?
eyes was a little bit, like, droopy or something. I thought that was weird.
He's smiling.
How did you feel seeing her?
A lot of sadness. I don't think I really fully grasped, like, after this, I won't see her again.
Burke Ramsey, now 29, breaking a 20-year silence, coming out of the shadows to speak publicly for the first time about his sister JonBenét's murder.
It's just weird because he was like smiling and giggling the whole time. So anyway, but should we move on to other theories?
Yeah,
We
just
are at,
one
like, an
last
hour.
note on Burke is that the theory, you know, some of the thoughts behind the fact that he might have killed JonBenét is he's emotionally disturbed, but that JonBenét's parents spent so much time with her and really put her first, it sounds like, because she was such a pageant queen and just seemed like the favorite of the family a little bit. And
she
they
got
definitely
a ton
favored
of,
her
of
and her
attention. Yeah, so a lot of people think he had some serious
been
anger
jealous.
towards her and was jealous, and feeling neglected by them. Because it was really all about JonBenét. They did pageants. She was in stuff all the time. It never stopped for this poor girl. She was like a horse from the day she was born. Sorry.
What are the other suspects?
Okay, so Santa. The Santa from the party right before Christmas.
2 nights before, apparently.
Yes.
Bill Mcreynolds.
Bill Mcreynolds. Now let me tell you about this weirdo. First of all, CNN reported that Bill had given JonBenét a card that said, "You will receive a special gift after Christmas." He was also with the Ramsey family earlier that night at the holiday party at the White's house. Bill was also there for that. This is a family friend, so it's always important to look at family friends because a lot of the time in these creepy kinds of cases, kids feel a little more comfortable or like will follow someone when they know them. Like, oh, it's Bill, it's Santa. Like, let me go with him. You know, it's maybe that's how he was able to do it quietly. Now he actually passed away quite a while back. But he always denied having any involvement in this, obviously, and was like ruled out as a suspect.
What's suspicious is that Bill Mcreynolds' daughter actually went missing 22 years before JonBenét's death, to the exact date, actually.
To the exact date.
That's bizarre.
Yep. And they found them, actually. It was her and another kid, and they were returned, but they were kidnapped.
That's crazy. But
Yeah.
it sounds like before he died, he was ultimately cleared due to the DNA test.
But listen to this quote. Josh, you should read this quote. You'll do better than me reading.
All right.
My
Bill
dyslexic
Mcreynolds
mind.
said,
This is wild.
"The stardust was all I took with me."
Hang on. Sorry. I got to preface this. He had this little vial of glitter that JonBenét had given him, and he like carried it everywhere with him. I don't know. It's fucking
Weird. But he said that the stardust was all I took with me for good luck when I had heart surgery last summer. Her murder was harder on me than my operation. She made a profound change in me. I felt very close to that little girl. I don't really have other children that I have this special relationship with.
Weird.
Not even my own children or my own grandchildren. When I die, I'm going to be cremated, and I've asked my wife to mix the stardust JonBenét gave me with my ashes.
What the fuck?
We're going to go up behind the cabin here and have it blow away in the wind.
So
The
weird.
fuck is that about? That's bizarre.
Yeah.
He seems like kind of a deranged person because that's really weird. That's
so did
not
he go
normal.
in their house, feed her some pineapple, and then lead her into the basement and kill her?
It's possible.
But then what the fuck's up with the ransom note? Why even add that in there? Like,
Right.
why even leave more evidence, leave your handwriting? But yeah, he was ruled out, so please don't think he did it. But so was the family.
So the next suspect is a sex offender.
Yes.
Gary Howard Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary Howard Olivia actually may have lived a few blocks away from the Ramseys at the time of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually had a history of sexually abusing children.
And not only that, he carried a photo of JonBenét in his backpack.
Yes. Very odd. And they found it when he was arrested in 2000 on a drug charge.
Yeah, and they also found he created a shrine for the little girl, saying that her death greatly affected him.
And this dude had a stun gun in his backpack.
Yes, and they believe
That's bizarre.
there was a marking on her face that the family believes was a mark from a stun gun.
Seems like a pretty good suspect.
I think I don't know if he's been ruled out.
Well, in 2002, he appeared on CBS's 48 Hour Investigates. And the show alleged that after the murder, Olivia had told a friend that he was in Boulder and had done something horrible to a child.
Yeah.
And he also made a poem at that time, which he called Ode to JonBenét.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was arrested again in 2016 on child porn charges.
Yeah.
So clearly a sex offender.
He was like a lunatic too. He put her
pedophile.
face on Monopoly
That's
money.
bizarre. So he definitely could have been involved.
Yeah. And he lived
He
close
seems
to
like a
them.
pretty prime suspect, actually.
So like someone could have gone through that window in the basement, gone in that way. Just the letter, like the ransom note is what fucks up everything in this case. Like you almost have a theory and then you remember the letter and it's like, why? Or maybe they meant, I guess you could say JonBenét was being kidnapped. In the process of being kidnapped, she started fighting back, trying to scream. Maybe she screamed, and to silence her, the person was like, oh, and then killed her. So the plan wasn't to kill her when the ransom note was written, but because of her screaming and being out of control, they hit her hard enough and maybe she died. So then they decided to just kill her there. That's, I guess, a possibility.
Yeah, it could have been the ransom note was written before the murder happened and it went bad.
Right.
And he ended up just leaving
Just didn't
her
work
in
out.
the basement versus taking her out that window.
Yep. So next possibility is John Mark Karr, a.k.a. Daxis. So this guy's a freak with a capital F.
Oh, yeah, this is that freaky dude.
In 2005, he actually began an email correspondence with Michael Tracy from the University of Colorado. And he was an expert on the JonBenét Ramsey case because he was from the University of Colorado Boulder, so really close to the case. He was using the pseudonym Daxis. And he admitted to killing JonBenét.
So he confessed.
Yeah, he confessed. And it was a big thing. I actually remember, oddly enough, being in Rhode Island with my cousins when this happened, like seeing it on the news because it was like a big thing. JonBenét Ramsey's killer confessed.
Huh.
But they shortly figured out that it wasn't him. He shared details from the crime scene and said that he had been in love with the child before her accidental death. But authorities traced his emails to Thailand. That's where they found him. He was teaching at an elementary school. Creep. The police arrested him, but they found that his DNA did not match any of the samples found around the crime scene. He was acquitted of the murder, but still maintains that he knew and loved the 6-year-old. The Ramseys believe that it could not have been Karr and that he was not a killer, that he even knew their daughter. They just kind of dismissed the confession altogether. And you'd think if they did it, they would like jump on an opportunity to accuse someone else. Oh yeah, it was him. But it sounds like this guy was just kind of a nut who worshipped kids and like loved JonBenét and the whole case and just got obsessed with the case and then somehow like convinced himself he did it.
Yeah. Huh. Another suspect was Michael Helgoth.
Yep.
And Michael Helgoth was 26 at the time of JonBenét's murder and worked at a nearby auto salvage yard. And this guy had a history of sexual assault, harming animals, and had apparently always wanted to crack a human skull. And this is according to testimony by a coworker at the time, John Kennedy. And his coworker said that right before Christmas in 96, Goth hinted that he and a business partner would be making around $50,000 to $80,000 each, which kind of closely, I guess not really, but around $100,000 total. And apparently Kennedy went to the police, and after hearing about JonBenét on the news, to tell them about Goth, because I'm sure he was like suspicious as fuck that this guy's telling him this.
Mm-hmm.
But in January of 1997, right when the police announced that the suspect list had been narrowed down, Goth was found dead in his bedroom from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yeah.
And it later came to light that the circumstances of his death actually pointed to murder.
Yeah.
Which had been framed to look like suicide. Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Weird.
There are so many twisty turns
bizarre.
in this case. It's unbelievable. Like, we're probably not even scratching the surface, honestly.
That's
and we've
so
been talking
bizarre.
for an hour and 20 minutes.
So bizarre.
So the final theory is that it was just a random intruder, just someone completely random. There's all types of theories about people it could have been, people traveling from other states. It's just so confusing. I mean, it seems like to have it all work out that way, I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense that it was some random person. I feel like it would at least have to been someone who knew them, knew the house, knew about that window, knew, you know? It's just so weird.
One of my theories is that a jealous employee or disgruntled employee possibly killed her that was close to John Ramsey.
Yeah.
Because again, coming back to the ransom note asking for $118,000, that's so bizarre. How does anybody know that unless they know John Ramsey very well?
Well, think about it like this.
Close to him.
If it was the parents, what if they were like, what if whoever, when they were writing it, they're like, do 118 because that's what I can go get that money right out right now.
Yeah, it's such a specific number. Like, why wouldn't they round it up to 150 or 200,000 or $500,000 or something?
Yeah, like it would make it so obvious that it was someone connected to the job or like someone that personally knew them to have that exact amount.
And he's clearly rich enough to have more than that.
Oh yeah.
Like why
would you go for that
this,
much?
Why wouldn't you go big
$1 million,
or go home?
$2 million, $3 million, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Try to milk him for all he's worth, but
yeah, especially taking their like prized possession little girl who's like wins all these pageants. You'd think you'd like go for the moon.
So bizarre.
It's really
so
weird.
bizarre.
So
what
I mean,
hell?
I have no idea. Obviously, no one knows. I just something's fishy with the parents. I think the strongest theory is that Burke accidentally knocked her out. She was either dead or they thought she was dead. So they finished the job with the garrote. But I just can't. Then the paintbrush thing comes in and the sexual assault, and it's so confusing. I mean, it could have been the father, but why?
Another thing that's just got me totally baffled is the ransom. I mean, the ransom note just really throws a whole, a huge wrench into all this, because
especially that it was written in the house. That's very
and that
strange
they said
too.
it was a foreign faction.
I know.
Have they investigated any foreign factions?
I mean, we don't know. They could have.
Because what the hell?
As far as I know, this case probably will never be solved. There's not really enough to convict anyone. And if the police had handled the crime scene better, this possibly could be solved today.
Yeah, I mean, the crime scene was not preserved at all. What the hell? It just makes no sense at all.
Yep. And it's sad. I mean, JonBenét was a really gorgeous little girl with a very bright future ahead of her. She was like winning all these pageants and stuff. So, I mean, maybe Patsy was even jealous of her. A lot of people think she was jealous of her daughter, kind of like living through her.
I just don't. I after reviewing this case now, I just really have a hard time believing that the parents did it.
I know well, a lot of the times, like even with my video, I didn't have all the information when I made that video. I worked much harder this time trying to go more in depth for the podcast. And going into this, I thought it was still Burke and Patsy and like a cover up. But like the more you find out, you certainly can't accuse them of that. Like there's just not enough evidence. And there's enough evidence pointing to other people that you definitely can't have one theory that makes complete sense. If there's always something to discredit any theory that comes up. There's always like, well, what about this? How would this have happened? You know?
And it's so sinister too. It's just so, it's such a brutal killing.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if like she just like, there was, died of suffocation and that was it. And there wasn't all this blunt force trauma.
Yeah.
It
would have been hard for Burke to like hit her that hard too. I mean, he was only 9.
Yeah, he would have had to like wail on her.
How much of a mastermind could he have been to like?
And honestly, if you hit somebody that hard with an object like that, I'm surprised there wasn't blood.
Yeah.
Like, seems
For
like she got
real.
hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
But maybe the fact that she didn't get hit, no blood was drawn,
Yeah.
shows that it may have been a lighter touch or something, a lighter hit. I mean, for me,
Honestly.
I'm coming back to Santa Man. I think Santa Man's pretty suspicious. I mean, because Bill Mcreynolds, he was at the Ramseys' house 2 nights prior.
Sorry.
So he would have known, probably had an idea of the layout of the house.
Yeah.
He probably would have known exactly where her room was. He could have even snuck around when he was there.
Yeah, and the weird upset like that. Honestly, I'm starting to think it really was him. I never believed the Santa Claus theory, and like he's always denied it. But the weird stuff he said about like her ashes, like his ashes mixing with the glitter, and like loving her more than his own children. That's so weird. And the fact that JonBenét mentioned, Santa said she was gonna have a special surprise
gift, like that's creepy.
And they even gave her a card of that.
I mean, yeah.
Oh my God, it's so creepy, dude.
It seems like he's clearly obsessed with her.
And he knows the house. That's very
almost
true.
Sick level. I
and
mean,
it would be easy to take her like, hey, it's me.
He could have
Bill,
even been wearing his.
your buddy.
He could have been wearing his fucking Santa suit.
Yeah, honestly,
I mean,
he could have.
His Santa suit. He has white gloves.
Wouldn't there have been more like footprints though? I don't know.
Not
the whole
necessarily.
thing is so weird, but we
He's
gotta
Santa.
wrap this up.
He could sneak out of the chimney, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm going with Santa. I'm gonna say it was probably Santa because it seems like it had to have been somebody fairly close to the family that knew the house. I just don't see how a foreign faction, some rando,
And maybe he would have known. That's how he would have known about the 818,000.
that would have known about that. He could have been snooping around their house for all they know.
Very odd.
When he was there.
But we want to know what you guys think. So definitely leave us a comment or tweet us or whatever. I mean, no one knows. So anything,
Still unsolved.
It's up for grabs.
I hope it gets solved. I hope they figure it out.
Oh, dude, you and everyone else, like, it haunts my dreams. This is one of those cases that just sticks with me, and I think about it all the time.
And it's so close to home, too.
Yeah,
It's
it really is.
Such a big case.
But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, we'd appreciate you subscribing to the channel or following us on whatever streaming service that you guys use. Want to remind them of anything else?
Yeah, and please, again, rate and review if you have a minute. That really helps us out. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And hopefully you guys enjoyed the true crime episode today.
Yeah, be sure to let us know what you guys
Definitely
think
something
about that.
different. Let us know. Give us some feedback on whether or not you like the true crime and
True crime.
the true crime.
Yeah. But yeah.
Because I like talking about it. I mean,
do too.
I have a genuine interest in, criminal justice. Actually, I have a tattoo on my rib cage that says justice because here's a little secret, but I originally wanted to go to college for criminal justice, and I wanted to go into law enforcement and stuff because I was very interested in and kind of obsessed with crime solving, I guess. And honestly, I think I would have made a great detective because I have the mind to figure this shit out. Put me on this case. I'll figure it out.
Okay. But yeah, that's it for us today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Gotta get my outro song here. Oh, wasn't there something else we needed to say?
Oh, yeah.
Patreon?
Yeah, if you guys want us to help support our channels and the podcast, be sure to check out our Patreon page. We've got new rewards, all kinds of cool stuff on there. It just helps us out because we're actually not making a single dime off the podcast yet. So
They won't accept us for monetization on YouTube. It's the weirdest thing. We cannot get accepted even.
yeah, we applied and it's been over a month and we still haven't been monetized for anything.
Yeah, it's been a tough month on YouTube. Almost every single thing I've uploaded has been demonetized. So we really need patrons more than ever. If you're at all able to, there are really cool rewards. We have 5 different levels. What do we got? What is it? The first one.
We've got the private Discord. We've got sneak peeks to.
But what's the name
podcast.
of it? They're cute. I love the names we came up with.
Oh yeah, you should look it up. But we have the different tiers.
Yeah, different
and
levels.
Everything from sneak peeks to the podcast. Listening
you can become
to
a curious cat for $2 per month, and it comes with a bunch of other different little things. And we ordered stickers for
all kinds of cool stuff. So check that out. We'll link everything below.
You can be a Mile Higher Homies level 2, Truth Seekers level 3, Woke AF is level 4, and Stellar Supporter is level 5. So just go ahead and check that out. If it's something you're interested in, go ahead and become a patron. But if not, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you loved that we did something different today. So be sure to let us know. But that's it for us today, guys. Be sure to take your mind a mile higher.
Take it a mile higher and stay woke, my friends. Until next time, Mile High Podcast is out. Peace out, everybody.